been. I am going to be talking about empath or wounded healer. So my thought for today is to begin by saying, I am Kiana Sage and I guide people to peace. I am not a therapist. I do not do therapy. I do energy psychology, and essentially energy psychology is the realignment of patterns to be in alignment with your soul. So your purpose for being here, the purpose for living this life, the purpose for all the things that you've been going through. There are reasons why people are misaligned and off track, feeling stuck, and I help bring them back in alignment with themselves. So that's what I do. So first I thought I would start by what is an empath? An empath is somebody who feels. They feel. That's a higher sensory frequency within their physical body. But what they're actually doing is feeling what's occurring within the field. And within the field, we have vibrations and we have frequencies, and they come in waves. And an empath will feel those aspects more so than somebody who's not tuned into that higher sensory perception. A wounded healer is somebody who also can feel things, but is feeling them in alignment with their aspects that are wounded. That means that they have yet to heal them. And so everything that they are perceiving in their experience of sensing is based on their wounds. So wounded healers can often absorb energy. They will often say they're picking up on energy from others, which also means that they're absorbing energy. And anytime you are absorbing energy, you are you have vulnerabilities in your field. That's the wounded healer. They are vulnerabilities that can be hidden, buried, or concealed, and they have yet to be discovered by the person who is sensing. Being a wounded healer can be quite traumatizing. It means that oftentimes people have traumas that they haven't processed through, and yet, so they are therefore perceiving their world through that trauma experience, which is the wounded healer. So an empath is not the same as the wounded healer. So you could be an empath and you could be a wounded healer, and they're different. A wounded healer could have some abilities that are higher sensory abilities, but because they are wounded, how they're perceiving those energies would be distorted. Whereas the empath will feel them from a healthy perspective, can discern what the energies are actually telling them, and then could make choices based on that healthy balance and stability. The wounded healer will not have that same ability, even though they might have the perception or give off the perception that they are stable. Often they're like completely unstable, but they don't have a perception of it because of their woundedness. Now, in my opinion, is one experience better than another? Hell yeah. Like, nobody wants to be a wounded healer. However, it's an archetype. It's a way of expression that people that don't understand that they have to do some healing will express until, hey Eric, good to see you. They don't have an understanding that they're expressing through their woundedness, right? So they're in denial or avoidance of that aspect, potentially. So they don't know that there's a difference, like to just be an empath, because they're in that woundedness. You know what I'm saying? So it's very interesting, having been very wounded in the past and had some ways in which my field was absorbing energy, and what I found so confusing to me is that so many empaths believed that it was normal to pick up and feel other people's energies and take it on. And it is absolutely not normal. Well, let me rephrase that. It is absolutely become normal. It is not natural. So, normal and natural are totally different. So the wounded healer will do things that is very common because there's so many people that are out there wounded that are trying to help other people heal, which is, fine. But an empath has done their work. They do not have the capacity. They can feel, but they do not absorb, which means that their perception in which they are experiencing the frequency and the vibration is more from a space of neutrality and non-attachment. Whereas the wounded healer will have some definite distortions and attachments. So it's very unpleasant to be the wounded healer in my experience. I will say that the most disturbing aspect of empaths that are wounded is that they think it's the way that's just the way. And this goes back to us really understanding how our beliefs really determine our ability to heal. Like, so if we believe that this is just how it is, then there's no potential to get out of that aspect, because that's what the belief will determine. So that will go into the unmanifest field. So anyways, I'm wondering what else. What else would you want to know about an empath and the wounded healer? I would say most therapists start being therapists because they are wounded and they want to help. I'm just looking. Carl asked if I am sober. Very sober. In fact, I need to go do my workout, which is why I got my workout clothes on. I don't drink and work out, that's for sure. Hi, Jerry. Somebody's saying I have something weird on my shirt. Could be the way it dried. But this is really about the content. So if you have a question about empaths, I'd be happy to answer you. Being an empath is a higher sensory ability. That means that we all have the potential to exercise our higher senses, to perceive the field of energy differently. It's one thing to feel things, it's another thing to absorb them. So they're two, that's a real distinction. If you're absorbing, that means that you have some vulnerabilities in your field. Oliver's asking, how do you protect yourself from taking on others' feelings? Well, feelings would be a resonance, and having empathy is not the same as being an empath. So that's a really good question. So empathy is an expression. Empath is like a higher sensory ability. So sensing somebody's feelings is that's a skill. And a lot of people don't have that skill, or they ignore that skill. But if you are feeling it, there's a resonance. So what I'm hearing you say, Oliver, is that you don't want to take. Let me go back and read your questions. What is your question? How do you protect yourself from taking on others' feelings? I think what you need to understand is that feelings are a resonance. And when you take 100% for your own feelings, then you won't take on the feelings of other people. That doesn't mean you don't have empathy for them. But if you take on their feelings, for example, then you're carrying a burden. Why would you choose to go into agreement with taking on other people's burdens? So That's what that is. That's an agreement to take on a burden. Many people do not take responsibility for their own feelings, and therefore they think they're taking on other people's feelings, when really the other people are really just expressing something that resonates with you, if that makes sense. I hope that helped. I'm not sure. Somebody is saying, be sober minded and watchful of the devil's eye on the weak. They are hurting the weak and hunting the lion. Hmm. I, that sounds like something that doesn't resonate with me. I'll just be honest with you. Be sober minded. To me, that doesn't even make sense to me. Be clear in the mind. That makes sense to me. But, you know, that doesn't have anything to do with being an empath except for how you are interpreting. And I will say that everything that you are perceiving is going to be interpreted. So, oh, you're giving me Bible stuff. I'm not a Bible fan. I'll have to be honest with you. So I just am not going to engage with Bible talk. I think so much of the book has been manipulated. I'm not saying everything is based on interpretation, and my interpretation of many versions of the Bible is that it's been manipulated and distorted, and it changes how people perceive, and it makes people go into judgment. So what I would suggest is that do not go into judgment about what other people are or are not. Just allow people to be and perceive them as part of a reflection of you. And you know, I find that when people go into the Bible, it becomes such a mind fuck, excuse my language, where people are trying to intellectualize their way into their own experience. This is my personal opinion. So it's my channel, and this is what I get to say. So if you don't like it, you don't have to listen. But, you know, life is not about intellectualizing things through. It's about feeling. It's about understanding that the heart is a compass, not the mind. And I think people who are easily manipulated by the word, and don't get me wrong, I believe in the beginning there was the word. I just believe that the word has since been manipulated. So, you know, however you want to interpret that. Being an empath is exhausting. Well, that would be different. So an empath is not exhausting. A wounded healer who takes on other people's energy, you are absolutely right. It is so exhausting. That's why it's so important to identify where are the gaps in your field, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, and start to shore up those gaps, those vulnerabilities, those access points where you get your energy siphoned. And the other thing I will say, I think it's Foxman. Let me put on my glasses so I can. Foxman. The other thing I would say is call back all of your energy that has been siphoned, and do that until you feel like all of your energy is back. Because empaths get siphoned because they don't realize that they have these vulnerabilities in their field. So you got to do both. You got to, number one, you got to really address the vulnerabilities in your field. That's huge, because you will get wiped out when you have leaks, tears, rips in your energy field. So shore those up, Foxman, so you're not so tired. Because, you know, if you have those skills as an empath, you are tapping into your extrasensory abilities. So those could be leveraged when they're not being drained. You see, you definitely don't want to have it drained. And I've been on the other side, so I can tell you that's how I know that the wounded healer, that is not the way it's supposed to be. That's how a lot of people feel. Like they'll go out and they'll come home and they're exhausted. You know, being in the public can be very exhausting. I'm not lying to you, and but it shouldn't be draining you. It'll only drain you when you've gone into agreement unconsciously or maybe consciously that siphons your energy. So you definitely want to look at that. I hope that helps, Foxman. Let me see, what else would be important? What is some of the biggest mistakes I see about energy? Empaths. So when people are feeling drained, like Foxman that you were just talking about, they often go to replenish, right? They want to fill up their energy resources because they feel like these people drain them. Maybe they'll reward themselves with a cocktail, or maybe they'll get something sweet like sugar or caffeine or carbohydrates, and all of those end up being siphoned. And that's why you would crave that to replenish you, because there's something that's siphoning you. So you definitely want to clear all those aspects that are being siphoned. And you know, the siphoning could happen from a situation, from a person. It could be from something that you've not even aware that you absorbed. It could be some really yucky energy. It could be black goo. It could be entities. It could be a myriad of things that would siphon your energy. Whatever it is, you don't want to consent to it if you don't want to consent to it. And you might have a parent even. I've seen clients and people who have their parents that'll suck the life out of them, and they just let them do it because they're in agreement with their parent. And they don't realize that they're in agreement to having their life force drained out of them. And they think that they're just not feeling good. Well, they're not feeling good because they haven't addressed the situation that they're in agreement with, because they don't want to look at their agreements because it's uncomfortable. And they don't want to clear their vulnerabilities because it means they have to address the trauma, and they don't want to address the trauma if it changes their life, which it will. So it's kind of an interesting conundrum that many people are in. All right. So if you guys don't have any questions, I'll sign off here. But I'll just give you another minute here on any questions about empath or the wounded healer. Such a big topic. I think it's such a rich topic that not enough people talk about. The tongue is dangerous. Yes, be very conscious of what you speak. When you feel other people's problems, can it be overwhelming? No, not for me. I don't take it on. When I am sensing somebody, so for example, when somebody books a session, when they book a session, that gives me authorization that they are authorizing me to work on their behalf in their energy field. What I will do is I will ask specific questions that help me address the most important thing for that client to get them on their path, okay? On their path to greater alignment within. So I don't find it overwhelming. I have worked with people who have been, that have tremendous traumas. And all that does for me is strengthen my muscle of compassion. I have worked with some people who have some very, very dark energies that can be scary, of course. But when you are in pure connection to God, Source, Creator, whatever language you want to use for your connection to that higher power, when you're in pure connection with that, I don't take it on, because I am just helping them to align to the truth of who they are, and what they may be experiencing is their perception of which they are in agreement with. So I'm just helping them gain clarity for that. I am not taking it on. I hope that answers your question. I think that's a really good question. So I am not taking their problems on. So that's not a burden I carry. Certainly, I have compassion for others, and I feel for them, which makes me able to do my job because I'm able to hold the space for them to heal. I think that's a very important job. So I hope that answers your question. Oh, I'm sorry. Raj says his dog died today. Well, what I will say is I'm so sorry. Our pets are always going to hold a deep place of love in the heart. And I think it's important to know that although the physical body may transition, the spirit and the soul of your animal will always be with you. I still, to this day, my dog died many, many years ago, and I still, I still think of my dog. How do I deal with clients who are devout in their beliefs? Well, first of all, I don't deal with my clients. I accept them. And, many people have beliefs that, and I posted about this on my LinkedIn page today, but many people have beliefs that it's not until they are on their deathbed do they realize that those beliefs that they held so closely to themselves were false. So it's not anything that I hold against people. Lots of people have beliefs that are false or inaccurate or manipulated. Lots of people have that. I don't have a problem with that. I clearly have my beliefs that are aligned to oneness. I try to practice those beliefs every single day and every moment. And I accept people. I've had clients who are devout Christians, devout Catholics that are very religious. And they still have experiences that are spiritual besides what they may have learned from their church experiences. Their experiences have what they would call maybe supernatural during the session. It's brought them closer to God. And I think that's the most important thing, is that when people are working with somebody like me, that they're just coming more into alignment about the truth of who they are, not what they think. And so it doesn't conflict. If people are open to healing, they will heal. So what they believe will often keep them from healing. So, I personally do not directly or overtly talk about beliefs with a client at the beginning unless they are open to it. But most of my clients are really open to having an experience, and letting go of old beliefs that no longer serve them usually is a piece of healing, right? So it's not a problem. Hey, Pablo. Good to see you here. Any questions about empath? Fat Man is, that's an interesting name, is asking, do I believe in any religion myself, or at least in a creator? I absolutely believe in God. And I use the word God. I don't shy away from it, but I understand that a lot of people have different languages that work for them. God, creator, source energy. I'm okay with whatever anybody wants to refer to. I don't take offense to it. But do I believe in a religion? No. I don't follow a orthodox religion. I was raised in Catholicism, but that's not what I believe at all for me to be true. I do not, I believe in oneness. I believe in love. I believe that, I believe a lot of things, but not in a religion. And I don't think that you find alignment in church. And I really don't take too kindly to authoritative structures that are misaligned. And we all know, we've all seen how misaligned a lot of the churches have been. So I will say, when I was in Rome, I had an opportunity to go to the church, St. Peter's, and I actually saw the Pope come in, and I was fascinated. First, my forte is group energy, and I was just found it absolutely fascinating to see how the energy of the crowd just completely transformed the moment the Pope was brought in on his thing that he sits on, which I'm sure it has a formal name that I don't know. And it was fascinating, and it really made me wonder about magic. Okay. Am I numb to negativity? I do not, I don't think I'm numb to negativity. I just don't engage with it. How's that? I think religion has caused a lot of the wars that we're experiencing now. And I think people have been fooled to think that religion is their savior, which it's not. God, creator, and somebody up here said Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness is real, and it is a higher frequency, and it has nothing to do with the church. Zero. And that belief about church will really get a lot of people, creates polarity. So, you know, you believe what you want to believe if it works for you, until it doesn't work. Okay. Religion is a way to for people to feel. Religion, I just, it's not for me. That's all I can say. I don't know why other people do it. I hear what they say, but I know when I went, it did not feel good to me. Obviously, I have higher sensory abilities. I could feel into the church. I could feel into the energy, into the messages, not just what people are saying, but what they're not saying, that undertone. I feel that. And if it doesn't feel good to me, I'm not down for that. And that's how I feel most of the experience of church has been for me. Can I explain what Christ consciousness is? Well, this whole video is really about empath and the wounded healer. And what does an empath do? The empath feels energy, and energy is a combination of a vibration and a frequency. Christ consciousness is the higher spectrum of the energy frequencies. And when you're tapped into that consciousness, you are resonating at a different frequency. That's what Christ consciousness is. It's a way of aligning, it's a way of being, and you align to it by being kind, considerate, having personal responsibility, having personal integrity, having values that are aligned with God, having values that are aligned with kindness. It's all of that. I hope that was helpful. Pablo wants to know, give real life changing advice for real life changing money. Well, money is a part of a 3D matrix, but I will also say that money is one of the easiest things to manifest. So I would say if you want to manifest money, you want to look at what are your beliefs about money. I once had a client that would say that they believed that money was at the root of all evil. And I said, well, that core belief that you have is the reason why you are already limited in how much money you can make. And I remember when we had that conversation, she just was absolutely dumbfounded because she did not realize how her beliefs about money were influencing her experience of flow. And she's making a lot more money now, let me tell you that. Fat Man is saying, I'm not here to offend or pry. I'm just curious because people either go to psychology or religion for help. You know what, Fat Man, this is so interesting. But psychology, traditional psychology, has been manipulated just like a lot of medical aspects have been, which is why so many people are on medicines. The church isn't going to help you get aligned because that's not their job. And psychologists, for the most part, are already wounded healers, so they're not going to help you get aligned. And a lot of the programming to become a psychologist is rooted in the medical philosophies, which, if you really did some research, your mind would be blown. I mean, I remember really understanding how the DSM is how therapists diagnose people. If people had an inkling of how they got diagnosed from their therapist, they would know their diagnoses aren't very supportive of them healing at all. So therapy doesn't heal, church doesn't heal. The only way to really heal is to go into alignment with your inner connection of God. If your church is teaching that God is outside you, then I don't know what to tell you. I think you bring up a good point. I don't know anybody that's going to church to get help. Most people I know that come to me have gone to therapists and not found the help that they needed. They go to church but they're not looking to be healed from church. They're just looking for some insight, some inspiration, but most people that really want to heal from therapy, really, for the most part, they're not finding their answers there. They get a lot of prescriptions. I mostly help people who have tried the traditional ways and are finally open to a different perspective. Am I doing what for free, Pablo? I do these videos for free. I answer questions all the time. Yeah, this is my own personal time. That's why, I do this when I can. It's my way of giving people different opportunities to see different perspectives, to learn a different way, to understand what the natural laws are all about, and to understand how to do things differently. Pablo says, I make therapists quit. Am I sure I could help you? Pablo, you've been talking about having a session since you've been on here. I don't know what kind of help you need. Do you even want to help? If you want help, then I'm certain I can help you with something. I don't know what it is that you want help with, but sometimes what we want and what we need are very different. Yes, Pablo, that's how much a session is. I believe God, Fat Man is saying, I believe God is a divine force and that he doesn't directly interact with us. But as we learn his design, we can learn how he is a part of us. Well, it's an interesting incongruency you have there. And so you could see how your beliefs dictate how you experience your life. But this is all I'm going to talk about right now. I don't see anything here about being an empath or a wounded healer. So I hope that you found this information insightful and perhaps a different perspective. I think the biggest thing that I would say is that if you have wounded healer aspects and you're absorbing energy, you must address the vulnerabilities in your physical body, your mental body, your emotional body, and your spiritual body. They all must work in alignment with one another. And so don't leave yourself vulnerable is what I would say. I hope you have a great day. My name is Kiana Sage, and I guide people to peace. I am here every day at a different time, but I'm bringing different content every day. So if you like what you're hearing, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.